It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the movies of April 20th, 2001. Now, we got two comedies this week, and I want you to notice a radical difference between the two of them, because one of them is an unnecessary sequel, and the other is what has been argued as one of the worst comedies of all time. Should give you kind of an idea of where this is going to go, but let's go ahead and take a look at the biggest, in quotation marks, newest release, and that is Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles. So yeah, after 13 years, somebody at Paramount said, you know what we need to do? You know what was popular back in the day? Crocodile Dundee. I'm sure there's going to be an audience for it in 2001, and yeah, not so much. This is basically, you have Australian outbacker Mick Dundee, once again played by Paul Hogan, who travels to Los Angeles with his young son while his longtime companion suspects foul play at a movie studio with one of the guys that the focus of the movie is on is Jerry Burns, another actor who hasn't really done anything of relevancy since Dear John in the 1980s. This whole movie feels like it's a movie that was lost in time, like it was literally sitting on a shelf at Paramount Pictures for 10 years, and was supposed to come out in 1991, and then all of a sudden it's just like, it's just like, hey, we found this old dusted script. See what Paul Hogan's up to. He's probably not doing anything in particular. And really, he hasn't really done anything of noteworthiness since the last Crocodile Dundee movie. Now, there's been a couple of movies where he's tried to, kind of regain his composure again, like kind of regain the thing that regained his acting abilities. But like Flipper probably was the best thing he did. But then he had stuff like Almost an Angel, Lightning Jack, and even after this movie, he really didn't do a whole lot after this movie came out. There's a couple of other things. There was like a pseudo-sequel, I guess, called The Very Excellent Mr. Dundee, which I was tempted to kind of check out, but I never really got around to doing so. But in terms of this movie, let me kind of run down quickly my thoughts on the other Crocodile Dundee movies. I thought they were fine. I thought the first one was kind of fun, seeing him go to New York City, 1980s New York City, which leads to a lot of comic potential. And I thought it was fine. Crocodile Dundee 2, thought it was fine too. But this one, I'll give it this, though. It's better than the other time that Paramount made a third movie out of an 80s comedy franchise that really didn't work, and that was Beverly Hills Cop 3, which I consider that to be one of the worst movies of all time. But this is not that great, not as bad, but it's not a great movie either. There are a couple of times when I chuckled a little bit. There were times in there when I thought, like, okay, this is actually kind of funny. I did chuckle a little bit there. There's one part where he goes to a Wendy's restaurant, and he goes to the drive-thru, and the person behind the microphone's just like, "Welcome to Wendy's," and he goes like, "Hello, Wendy." Like he thinks it's literally that's literally the person who's talking to him right now. But like little things like that, I kind of enjoyed about the movie. But other than that, though, it's really a pointless sequel. Like, this really did not need to exist in 2001. Like I said, if you did it in 1991, maybe it could have worked. Like, apparently Paul Hogan got the inspiration to do this when he went on a tour in the Czech Republic in 93, which, how do you get the Czech Republic from Los Angeles? I mean, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But, something else I found interesting about this movie is that one of the writers of this movie is Matthew Berry. Now, a lot of you may not know who that name is, but if you watch Football Night in America and you see the fantasy football expert on there, that's the same guy, Matthew Berry. Everyone knows him now as like this fantasy sports analyst, fantasy sports expert, but he was actually a Hollywood writer in the early part of his career. I mean, he wrote episodes of he was a production assistant on the George Carlin Show. He was a writer on Married with Children. He wrote stuff like Gary and Mike, Oliver Bean. He's done a lot of stuff, and then just all of a sudden he had a success. It's like he didn't have the successful career as a writer, because most of the shows he worked on didn't last very long, or they were at the tail end of their long runs. But then he takes the transition over to the sports world, and he's become a big success there. Like I said, he's one of the big contributors on Football Night in America. You see him every week on NBC. Hey, more power to him, man. I mean, it's amazing how you go from being a Hollywood writer, just writing spec scripts for a lot of shows that don't really go anywhere, to becoming one of the more well-known sports analysts on TV. I mean, that's something there. But like, I found that kind of interesting while doing the research for this. I never knew that about that. I thought that was pretty cool. But that's pretty much the only cool thing I know about this movie. Like, Paul Hogan is a likable guy. You could tell that he does put his effort into it, and he is trying his best. You know, he's trying his best to make this to make people entertain people. Quite simply, like I really do think he did go into this with the hope that maybe he can bring this character back, but it was just a little too late. Like, I mean, like I said, it's been over 10 years since the last Crocodile Dundee movie. And you know, it's just too late to do that. This is one of the pure examples of why I'm not a big fan of comedy sequels, especially ones that are way after the last movie came out, because most of the time, 9 times out of 10, they don't work. And this is one of those examples. Like I said, not a bad movie, but at the same time, it's not a great film either. It's a movie that feels really pointless, and probably should not have been made. But I'll give it this, though. It certainly was much more entertaining than the movie that we're about to talk about now. Often considered one of the worst comedies of all time, and they're right. But just hear me out. We'll delve more into it as I talk about Freddy Got Fingered. Yeah, when this movie came out, this was considered one of the worst movies of all time, and it's kind of hard not to see why if you actually see it. But the story of this movie is that you have Tom Green, who stars in the film as a childish slacker who wishes to become a professional cartoonist while dealing with his abusive father's behavior, the father played by Rip Torn, and its plot resembles Green's struggles as a young man trying to get his TV series picked up, which would later become the MTV series he became known for. And the title of the film refers to a plot point where Green's character falsely accuses his father of sexually abusing his brother, the eponymous Freddy, played by Eddie K. Thomas. And, yeah, this movie is a trip. And I will say this, though. As bad of a movie it is, as it definitely deserves to be known as one of the worst comedies ever made, there are times in this movie that I did laugh. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I love dark humor, man, and this has dark humor to a T. Now, I didn't laugh at like the moments where, just random moments where, you know, like Tom Green has to like go like mess around inside of a I think it was a milk factory, or when he has to play a doctor and eat a placenta of a baby, and eat a placenta of a baby, and has this girlfriend where she's into BDSM, but she's also in a wheelchair. She has an obsession for fellatio and wants to create a rocket-powered wheelchair. Like, stuff like that didn't really make me laugh, but it's the stupid moments that just make me, like, laugh real hard. Like, the moment, like, the sausage scene in particular. Like, you know, when he's got all the sausages and he's playing the piano. Like, that is one of the stupidest things ever, but I'll be damned if it didn't make me laugh long and hard at that point. And, when Rip Torn beats the shit out of him, it's also really hilarious, too. Like, there's that great scene where he's in the scuba suit in the shower, and Rip Torn's just like, "Get the hell out of my goddamn scuba suit, you imbecile!" And he's throwing him through the plate glass window of the shower curtain. It's just like, stuff like that makes me laugh hard. And the cartoon that he has at the end, where it's just like the zebras and all that, like, it's a poorly written cartoon, but I'll be damned if I'm not laughing my ass off at how... Is that, like, it's one of those things that just, that's some of the things that you remember from this movie that are like, hey, there was some value to this movie. And I think this thing has actually gotten a reevaluation over the years, and people have actually said, you know what? This isn't as bad as we gave it credit for. Now, I'm not willing to go that far. I still think there is a lot about this movie that's not great. A lot of things that I really do not like about the movie. And it's a bad movie. No question about it. It's a bad movie. It's one of those movies that we talked about with some other movies, that they were trying to create the next Fairley Brothers style hit, especially at 20th Century Fox. And this was another one of those ones where they tried to create a hit out of it, and it just didn't work. But like I said, it has gained a lot of reappreciation over the years. I don't know if that's a good kind of appreciation, or it's one of those it's so bad it's good type of things, which I'm guessing maybe that's the case, but who knows? But yeah. It's not a great movie by any means, but it has those moments that you will remember forever, whether you think it's funny or just not. It's a trip, man. And I would honestly say check it out if you want to see a really, really bad movie, because this is, no matter what I say about it that's good, Freddy Got Fingered is a really, really bad movie, plain and simple. And speaking of bad movies, the next episode we'll take a look at has a lot of bad movies, including Sylvester Stallone's infamous disaster Driven, the massive disaster Town and Country. We also have The Forsaken, and also One Night at McCool's. Those are the movies that we'll take a look at next time. So, yeah, Freddy Got Fingered was bad, but this next slate of movies I have coming up, it's not looking too promising. But with that said, that's going to wrap up another episode of Time About the Movies. So thank you for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So with that said, I'm off. I will see you guys next time. And until then, as always, take care.